So what actually happens when the guy responsible for, keeping the underlying infrastructure of the internet from crashing turns his debugging skills onto his own body?
You basically get the ultimate biological error log.
Right, exactly. And welcome to the deep dive, by the way. Today we are looking at this really fascinating concept of the quantified self.
Which usually, I mean, when people hear that phrase, they picture some extreme biohacking.
Oh, totally. Like someone plunging into a freezing ice bath at like 4 in the morning.
Right. Or sleeping on a $10,000 mattress
Yeah.
and tracking blood sugar spikes while checking some proprietary algae smoothie.
Yeah, exactly. It borders on a full-time job.
It really does. That hyper-intense pursuit of like
Oh, yeah.
superhuman performance, it feels entirely disconnected from the reality of just holding down a normal career or managing a household.
Which is exactly why the source we are diving into today is just such a breath of fresh air. We're unpacking this highly detailed, deeply personal journal entry from the year 2026.
Yeah, it's a blog post titled This Week in Review, 2026, Week 10.
And the author is this guy named Ang, and I love this. He describes himself simply as an old software plumber.
That phrase, it just perfectly sets the tone, doesn't it? A
Oh,
software
yeah.
plumber isn't building flashy consumer apps.
Yeah.
They are deep in the unglamorous back end, just fixing the pipes that keep complex systems running.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to see what you, the listener, can learn when a veteran programmer applies that exact same troubleshooting methodology to, well, the messy realities of the human body.
The body, his learning process, his daily chores, all of it.
Yeah, we're going to see how data can actually optimize a normal, quiet life rather than, trying to build a cyborg.
So where do we start?
Let's start with the physical foundation of his week, because he documents his hardware like his physical body meticulously.
Oh, the sleep tracking.
Yeah. He tracked his sleep to the decimal point. He averaged 6.4 hours over this particular week.
Not the mythical 8 hours that we are constantly told is mandatory, but 6.4.
Exactly. And he notes this high weekday volatility. He was dealing with what he calls segmented sleep.
And notice how he analyzes the root causes of that segmented sleep. A lot of us would just wake up, groan, and, declared a bad night.
Oh, I do that all the time, just write off the whole day.
Right. But he lists the specific variables disrupting the system: increased room temperature, sporadic relapse knee pain, and muscle spasms.
It's like he is looking at his central nervous system as a machine that's just generating error codes.
Exactly. He mentions he is still experiencing flare-ups after finishing a round of medication. But through trial and error, he makes this incredible breakthrough.
The trigger point thing.
Yes, he finds the exact physical trigger point causing his sporadic pain. And he realizes that applying a very specific massage to that one localized spot just subdues the pain instantly.
And it completely resolves the issue by the next day.
Right. Think about the psychological shift in that approach. When we feel chronic pain, our instinct is like global panic.
Oh, totally. Your knee hurts, so you just assume the joint is deteriorating. Your mobility is compromised. The whole biological machine is failing.
Exactly. But by isolating the issue to a specific trigger point, he completely changes the narrative. It's not a systemic failure. It's just a localized bug.
Which, if we think about how a programmer deals with a massive legacy software system, it makes total sense. If a 20-year-old program crashes, you don't throw away the server and rewrite the whole thing from scratch.
No, you run tests. You isolate the variables.
You poke around until you find the single undocumented dependency causing the crash, and you apply a hotfix.
And he applies that exact same logic to his daily movement. He tracked his steps with, incredible precision, an average of 5,891 steps per day for the week.
Again, not the arbitrary 10,000 steps everyone talks about. 5,891.
Right. And his trend heat map shows it was highly consistent day to day. But he notes he's been away from his regular swimming sessions for moons, as he puts it.
Largely because of that knee pain we just talked about.
Yeah. And for a lot of highly driven people, being away from a structured workout routine creates immense guilt.
Oh, for sure. You feel like you're failing.
Right, so they force themselves back into the pool to fix their health, which just spikes their central nervous system load. They injure themselves further, and inevitably, they just quit.
But Ang makes a highly pragmatic choice to avoid that entirely. He chooses to integrate movement organically.
Yes, the organic integration is key here.
He takes short walks around his neighborhood while running grocery errands. He does gardening chores after his meals. He literally writes, let me find the quote, "Make it a natural part of your daily ritual instead of structured exercise."
Biologically, this is just a profound way to manage allostatic load, which is, the cumulative wear and tear on the body.
Right.
By focusing on organic integration into daily rituals rather than forced structured exercise, he lowers the activation energy required to move.
It's a sustainable model for long-term physical resilience. It totally prevents the burnout cycle.
But, fixing a hardware bug like knee pain is really only half the battle here.
Yeah, because if this guy is running complex mental software all day, he has to optimize the fuel source.
Which brings us to how Ang monitors his inputs.
Right, the diet and weight tracking. He notes his base weight drops slightly from 68.53 kilograms, and on weekdays, he fluctuated in a super tight band between 68.20 and 68.60 kilograms.
But on the weekend, his weight spiked up to 69.0 kilograms.
Okay, so I'm really curious how you view that level of data collection, because honestly, I have to push back a little on this degree of tracking.
Okay, lay it on me.
I mean, is monitoring your weight down to the exact hundredth of a kilogram, like 68.53, is that actually empowering for the average person?
That's a fair question.
Because monitoring a weekend spike to 69.0 kilograms seems like a massive risk. For a lot of people, that becomes an obsessive, anxiety-inducing data trap.
Oh, complete?
You step on the scale on Monday, you see the number go up, and your entire week is basically ruined.
Yeah, for many people, that level of granularity absolutely becomes toxic. But the mechanism at play for Ang is completely different.
How so?
For his specific mindset, hypertracking actually strips the emotion away from the data.
Wait, how does tracking every single ounce remove the anxiety? That feels backward.
Just look at his response to the weekend spike. There is no paragraph in his journal about feeling guilty or failing his diet. He analyzes the 69.0 kilograms coldly, purely as a data output resulting from a specific input.
Okay, I see.
He notes that he ate 3 meals of outside food over the weekend.
Yeah.
And restaurant food is notoriously high in sodium and carbohydrates.
Right, they load it up with salt and sugar so it tastes good.
Exactly. And biologically, high sodium triggers osmosis, putting water into the cells. Plus, every gram of carbohydrate stores about 3 grams of water.
Ah, so it's literally just a formula for him. Salt plus sugar equals water retention?
Yes, it strips away any illusion of moral failing. It's simple cause and effect. He introduced a specific variable into the biological machine, and it produced the mathematically expected output.
Wow, so when you understand the cellular mechanism, the data stops being a judge and just becomes like a dashboard indicator.
Exactly. It's just his engine running a bit hot. Nothing to cry over.
That emotional distance is incredibly freeing, and he approaches his nutrition with the same lack of dogma, too.
Yeah, the intermittent fasting.
Right. He mentions practicing intermittent fasting, but he explicitly says he doesn't do it intentionally. He achieves a 16-hour fasting window purely by habit, just by making sure he finishes his last meal of the day by 8:00 p.m.
And that 16-hour window is significant because it's generally when the body shifts into autophagy.
Which is what exactly?
It's essentially a cellular cleanup process where the body clears out damaged components. It's kind of like running a system defragmentation overnight on your hard drive.
I love that analogy. He also has these brilliant frugal protein hacks. Like, he isn't buying expensive wild-caught salmon shipped on dry ice to optimize his brain function.
No, he discovered sardines.
Yes.
Sardines.
He points out they are an incredibly affordable fish source rich in omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA.
And those specific fatty acids are critical here. The human brain is nearly 60% fat, and EPA and DHA are essential for maintaining the lipid bilayer of brain cells.
And reducing neuroinflammation, right?
Exactly. Ang notes several times in this journal that he is feeling mentally exhausted.
Yeah, he says he feels rather stoic, but mentally exhausted.
So he is actively seeking out the exact biological compounds his brain needs to repair the cognitive strain he is putting it under.
And to manage that strain on a daily basis, he relies on micro-meditations. Just like 1 to 3 minute sitting sessions or walking meditations while raking leaves in the garden.
He's weaving the mental maintenance directly into his physical chores. It's brilliant. But we really need to look at what is actually causing that massive cognitive drain in the first place.
The outputs requiring all this fuel, yes. So Ang is an incredibly active contributor to free, Libre, and open source software, or FLA.
Right.
He documents doing daily pull requests across a massive array of programming languages. Go, Python, Elixir, Erlang, Rust, and Haskell.
Just for those who might be unfamiliar with the workflow, a pull request is basically like suggesting a highly technical edit to a massive communal Google Doc that thousands of other people rely on.
Right, and he specifically mentions updating the GitHub continuous integration dependencies for Elixir 1.19 and Erlang OTP 28.
Which sounds super dense, but continuous integration is essentially the automated proofreader. It tests your code to ensure your new edit doesn't break the rest of the software.
It's the deep structural plumbing that keeps modern networks functioning.
But amidst this highly technical work, he drops a profound observation about a massive cultural shift happening in the tech world in 2026.
Yeah, this part was fascinating. He notes that nothing particular caught his attention lately in the open source community, and he blames it on a flood of what he calls vibe-coded projects.
Vibe coded.
Wait, vibe-coded? That sounds like making a Spotify playlist, not, software architecture. What does that actually mean in the context of 2026?
So vibe coding refers to software generated almost entirely by artificial intelligence.
Oh, I see.
Instead of writing the logic line by line, a user just prompts the AI with the general vibe or function of what they want the program to do, and the AI spits out the architecture.
And these projects are just flooding the open source ecosystem.
Exactly. And he points out that this entirely reduces the need for human collaboration.
Because the AI is doing the heavy lifting.
Right. The traditional open source culture where humans had to actively mentor each other, review each other's code, and build a real community to get a project finished, that's eroding.
Wow. Though, to be fair, the utility of AI is undeniable, and he openly admits to using it himself.
Oh, yeah. He mentions bootstrapping and finishing an entire Python project in just a matter of hours using AI assistance.
But he draws a very strict, deliberate boundary, which I think is the most important takeaway here.
Rule about learning.
Yes. When he is learning a new programming language, he absolutely refuses to let the AI write the code for him.
Not a single line.
He writes that he prefers to take his own sweet time to enjoy the journey and look at the scenery. He incrementally builds his knowledge using the AI only as a glorified search engine or a rubber duck companion to bounce his logic off of.
Think of using AI to build a project like hiring a drone to lay plumbing pipe for you.
Okay.
The drone gets the pipe into the ground instantly, and the water flows. The utility is fantastic.
Okay.
But because you didn't dig the trenches yourself, you don't actually understand how the system is routed.
Right, so when a pipe bursts 3 years later, you are completely lost. You have no idea how to fix it.
Exactly. Ang protects his cognitive process fiercely. He insists on digging the trenches himself when he is learning something new.
It's like taking a helicopter to the top of a mountain versus hiking it. The helicopter gets you the result instantly, but hiking builds the muscle and lets you actually enjoy the scenery.
That's a perfect way to put it. When artificial intelligence makes the creation of outputs effortless, the true value of an activity shifts entirely.
The value moves away from the final product, like the finished code, and entirely toward the internal process of learning itself.
He is intentionally choosing the high-friction path to preserve his own intellectual growth. Basically, AI can do my chores, but it cannot do my hobbies.
He requires friction to feel engaged, which brings us perfectly to how he counterbalances this incredibly intense, screen-focused digital world.
The analog anchors.
Yes, he actively cultivates slow, tactile, strictly analog anchors. He's breeding and priming cichlids, which are these brightly colored freshwater fish in his home tanks.
And the gardening, too.
Yeah, he's managing 4 new gardening workspaces, exploring growing plants from seeds and cuttings.
In a digital landscape where everything is ephemeral and abstract, that tactile feedback is a psychological necessity.
You have to touch real things.
Exactly. Putting his hands in the dirt or manually adjusting the water chemistry of a fish tank forces his brain to engage with physical reality. It literally lowers baseline cortisol levels.
And he also wants to get back into photography, specifically macro and street photography. But we see his trademark pragmatism kick in again here.
Oh, the camera situation.
Yeah. He notes that because 2 festive seasons are happening, older mirrorless cameras are currently on sale as manufacturers clear inventory.
He's clearly done the research. He knows the exact gear market inside and out.
But he looks at his budget, which he affectionately calls his thin wallet, and realizes the mirrorless camera is still too expensive.
And he doesn't go into debt for it.
No, and he doesn't obsess over the gear he can't afford either. He executes a pragmatic pivot. He starts researching a dedicated mobile phone that features a high-quality macro lens instead.
Cutting his costs significantly while still allowing him to pursue the hobby.
Right.
This really weaves all these elements together into an underlying philosophy. We could call it pragmatic optimization.
Pragmatic optimization. I like that.
Whether he is choosing cheap sardines over expensive salmon, or a macro phone over a high-end mirrorless camera, or taking a walk around the block instead of forcing a structured swim with a bad knee, he consistently finds the highest leverage, lowest friction path through life.
He never lets perfect become the enemy of good. And nowhere is that more obvious than in his approach to home improvement. I actually marveled at this when I read the journal.
The decluttering rule.
Yes, he has a strict rule for decluttering his house. He declutters exactly one item per day.
One single item. It sounds too simple.
But think about it. Look around the room you're sitting in right now. If your goal is to clean the entire room this weekend, the activation energy required is massive. You're paralyzed before you even start.
You just end up scrolling on your phone on the couch instead.
Exactly. But if your only system requirement for today is to throw away one piece of junk mail or, donate one old coffee cup, the friction drops to absolute zero.
It is an algorithmic approach to housekeeping. In computer science, this is similar to garbage collection.
Garbage collection.
Yeah, it's a process that runs constantly and quietly in the background to free up memory without ever spiking the CPU.
Oh, that's brilliant. So by moving one item a day, he ensures the physical space is constantly optimizing without ever draining his mental battery.
Exactly.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's synthesize the core lessons we've extracted from a week in the life of an open source software plumber.
Okay, let's run through them.
First, we learned to treat physical setbacks, like segmented sleep or a spike in water retention, as neutral data points rather than moral failures. Isolate the variables, find the trigger point, and apply the patch.
Second, prioritize organic integration over forced structure. Lower the friction of health by weaving movement and affordable nutrition directly into your existing daily rituals.
And third, deliberately choose when to use AI for pure speed and utility versus when to purposely slow down, dig the trenches yourself, and protect the joy of the learning process.
And you really don't need to know how to code in Python or Elixir to apply this framework to your life.
Yeah.
You can start today simply by observing your own habits with curiosity rather than judgment.
Right. Look at your own inputs and outputs. If your system is throwing an error code, whether that's mental exhaustion or physical pain, don't panic. Just look for the dependency causing the crash.
It's all just data.
It really is.
Yeah.
But it does leave us with a final, somewhat provocative thought to mull over.
Oh, what's that?
If we do start treating our entire lives like an open source software project, if we are constantly logging our sleep data, reviewing our dietary metrics, tracking our steps, and endlessly trying to patch our biological bugs, do we eventually reach a stable release of ourselves?
Wow. Is there a version 1.0 where the optimization is just complete?
Right. Or does the constant drive to debug our lives prevent us from simply sitting back and experiencing the system just as it is, bugs and all? Sometimes you just need to look at the messy reality of being human and realize that not every line of code needs to be fixed.